Naruto, Rise of the Darkest Shinobi Force. Episode 31, Doubting Life's Hyuga. What? What do you say? You don't send me home. Hinata Hanabaki's eyes widened and she looked at Naruto Uzumaki in disbelief. This bastard took her out of Hinata's house and left it alone? It's human. Naruto held Hinata in his arms, turned his head to look at Hinata Hanabori, and wondered, I mainly invited Hinata to dinner, and I just brought you by the way, why did I send you home? Hinata Hanabi almost cried, and looked at Naruto with big red eyes, eager to pounce and bite him. She was obviously snatched out by you, and now she actually doesn't admit it, and lets her go home by herself. Glancing at the dark jungle around him, it was dark and silent, and countless gray shadows crisscrossed each other, and from time to time there were a few roars to the beast. I didn't know what kind of beast. Hinata Hanabi swallowed a mouthful of spit in fear and forcibly walked 2 steps, but when he saw a passing hedgehog, he suddenly screamed in fright and trotted all the way to hold Naruto's thigh. Woohoo, I don't dare. Hinata Hanabi had large tears in her eyes and looked at Naruto with unusually pitiful eyes. Since hearing that her sister Hinata had been kidnapped, Hinata Hanabi has never dared to walk at night, let alone through a forest where I don't know if there are any fierce beasts. Really, then come back with me. Naruto looked at Hinata Hanabi helplessly and said. Then, under the shocked gaze of the little girl, Naruto picked her up, put her on his shoulder, and walked towards the house. Hinata Hanabi noticed that he was being carried on Naruto's shoulder, and his face immediately turned red, and he shouted, My sister just left with you, why did you bring me to your house? The teenage girls in the Hokage world are unusually precocious, even 7-year-old Hinata Hanabi knew a lot of things, because of his precocity. Thinking of what she had learned, Hinata couldn't help but blush. Huh. Naruto glanced at her suspiciously, and brought Hinata Hanabi to his eyes, saying, Then you go back yourself? Don't. Hinata refused loudly, shaking her head like a rattle. She didn't want to walk through the dark jungle for half an hour to go home. Then stop talking nonsense. Naruto said casually, and once again carried Hinata Hanabi over his shoulder and strode towards the house. Now Hinata Hanabi didn't dare to speak, and pitifully hugged Naruto's neck. Make up your mind that you must be vigilant at night, not only to protect your sister's chastity, but also to protect yourself. Naruto galloped all the way back to his broken house. After putting Hinata on the bed again, Naruto touched his chin and groaned. There is only one bed in his room. He couldn't sleep on the floor. So. Naruto happily pulled out a blanket from the cupboard, spread it on the floor, and said to Hinata Hanabi, You're going to sleep here tonight. Hinata Hanabi widened her eyes and looked at Naruto with an incredulous expression. I'm a girl. Still a girl who is not an adult. Just let yourself sleep on the floor. Naruto was not in the mood to pay attention to Hinata's thoughts, so he happily stretched his waist, put Hinata Hanabi on the ground, and walked towards the door. I'll go take a bath, you sleep first. After the words fell, Naruto closed the door and walked towards the jungle where the party was held. Hinata Hanabi angrily waved Naruto's shoulder a few times, and then set his eyes on Naruto's bed. While muttering, he climbed into bed. I actually want to sleep with my sister, it's impossible. Looking at the sleeping Hinata Hanabi leaned on Hinata's shoulder and slept deeply. After Naruto left the room, he glanced around intentionally or unintentionally, the corners of his mouth hooked slightly, and the strength of his whole body burst out. It's really lively today, not only the dark part, but even the people from the root have come to insert a kick. Naruto thought secretly in his heart. But I think about it, how important the Book of Seals is. Even if there are 3 generations of Hokage's dark part, how can Tuanzo rest assured? Soon, Naruto, followed by a group of dark roots, returned to the jungle where the banquet had been opened before. After casually cleaning up the food on the grill, Naruto stretched, walked to the side of the river, and Shiran took off his clothes. A certain female ninja in the dark department couldn't help but take a sip, and secretly said, This kid is still the same as before, don't you know shyness? If he knew that there were at least 40 or 50 people staring at him here, he would definitely be ashamed to death. Soon, Naruto took off all the clothes and pants on his body, looked at the river naked, and jumped down. Huh. Seeing Naruto go into the water, several ninjas appeared at the water's edge in a flash, and they were about to catch up. Ugh. A figure flickered, secretly observing Naruto's female dark part for several years, appeared at the edge of the river, and reached out to stop the ninja who were about to enter the water. Looking at the dangerous gazes cast by the ninjas in those years, the female dark department quickly said, This river is very clear, you will be found when you go down, he will come here every day to bathe, he also likes to dive, he will come up in 10 minutes, you don't need to go into the water. Hearing the words of the female dark department, several root members looked at each other, nodded, and returned to the tree. The female dark part was relieved, and then looked at the clothes Naruto left behind, and stomped her foot indignantly. Episode 32, Konoha's instantaneous body, Uchiha stops water. After Naruto jumped into the water, he did not dive or bathe as those members of the Dark and Root thought, but went straight down. After reaching the water, Naruto grabbed a few live and jumping fish, looked at a swarf hole, and swam in without hesitation with the fish. It is a low and wide cave, and only a small part of the river can come in, and above it is a swarthy cave. After walking in the cave for a long time, there was a dim light in the eyes. Just as Naruto was about to step into the range of the inverted light, a weak voice sounded from inside. Ahem, is it Naruto? Naruto nodded and walked inside. It's me, you don't have enough food. Naruto said, wiping the river water on his head. Fortunately, I haven't finished the rice noodles you brought over last time. The unusually weak and hoarse voice inside said. When Naruto walked in naked, he saw a dark space with wooden furniture hollowed out of the rock wall. In the dark space, only a few candles are swaying and burning. Under the light of the candle, Naruto saw that sitting on a wooden bed sat a man with eyes wrapped in a white cloth, long black hair, a dango nose, and an unusually thin body. Naruto glanced at the crows around him, couldn't help but laugh, put the fish on the ground and said, Stop the water, you really like crows, don't forget to raise them here. The man showed a hint of a smile, touched the crow, and said, Fortunately, I let them stay here with me, usually they all live in a psychic space. That's right, the blind and thin man in front of him is the strongest man of the Uchiha clan who was considered dead 5 or 6 years ago, and he stopped in an instant. When Naruto was a child, he saw the moment when Uchiha stopped the water and jumped off the cliff. Naruto, who had been prepared, used a wooden stick to hang Uchiha on the mountain wall, but unfortunately the latter was desperate, forcibly broke free from the wooden stick, and fell from the mountain wall into the river. When Naruto found him, Uchiha only had one breath left. After finally being rescued, Uchiha was still bent on death, so that Naruto had to tie him up and carve out the cave in the river at night. After forcibly trapping Uchiha to stop the water for a period of time, the Uchiha extermination tragedy also occurred. After being carried by Naruto and seeing the tragic situation after the night of the extinction of the Uchiha family, Uchiha stopped the water and gave up the search for death and has been living in the space under this river. Naruto checked Uchiha's physical condition, shook his head, and couldn't help but sigh. It's actually worsening again, I told you a long time ago, don't exercise anymore. Uchiha Shisui showed a smile, shook his head, and said weakly, If I don't exercise again, I really don't know if I'm dead or alive. When he committed suicide by stopping the water, all his internal organs were painfully thrown and almost died, and even if he was cured by Naruto, his body became extremely weak. If it hadn't been for Naruto saying that he had a way to cure it, Uchiha really didn't know what he was still alive for. Seeing this, Naruto spread his hands helplessly. He came here just to come every day according to the custom, so as not to make him think of suicide again. However, the state of stopping the water is not bad, and it can also make Naruto breathe a sigh of relief. After chatting with Uchiha for a while, Naruto got up and said, Tonight, I will go and get the Book of Seals, according to the ninjutsu above and my ability, maybe there will be a way to treat you, you can rest assured first. Uchiha couldn't help but clench his palms, with a glimmer of hope on his face. Then Uchiha Shisui's face showed a hint of worry, and said, Naruto, you have to be careful with those root guys, they won't be like the dark part, as long as you do something wrong, they will shoot directly. Uchiha stopped the water once and went to the root once. That experience alone is still unforgettable. Because it wasn't like an organization at all, more like an emotionless killing syndicate. Naruto nodded, the corners of his mouth hooked, I know. After saying that, Naruto swam directly towards the water. There were too many people following this time, and Naruto was afraid of any accident, so he only stayed for 2 or 3 minutes before swimming out of the water. The ninja who were following around saw Naruto out of the water, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, they saw Naruto Shiran dressed and walking towards the room where the Book of Seals was stored. The female dark part on the tree couldn't help but roll her eyes when she saw it. Did he think that the ninjas guarding the Book of Seals were all the ninjas of the Hyuga family who were restrained by strange forces? You must know that the guards of the Book of Seals are all shinobi at the beginning, and they are ninjas who have experienced war. Naruto's gesture of swaggering so much, for fear that others would not know, made the female dark part not know how to complain. The member of the root looked at Naruto coldly and waved his hand, keep up. After an hour-long walk, Naruto swaggered to the 2 ninjas guarding the Book of Seals. The 2 ninjas were dumbfounded. Although the 3 generations of Hokage ordered them to let Naruto steal the Book of Seals, but, isn't this taking them for fools? They just can't do it without doing it. The 2 ninjas guarding the Book of Seals looked at each other with the corners of their mouths twitching, and saw the bitterness in each other's eyes. No way, an order is an order. Stand still, in front of it is the room where the Book of Seals is stored, no one is allowed to enter. The 2 ninjas strode up to Naruto and said loudly. Naruto glanced at them, Pong. Pong. Two punches hit two grief-stricken ninjas. The pupils of the two ninjas shrank sharply, and they couldn't react at this speed. He was directly knocked unconscious and fell heavily to the ground. After the female dark department saw it, she couldn't help but mourn her colleagues in her heart. It's really too small to see Naruto's speed and strength. With Naruto's weird powers, her colleagues won't be beaten into concussions, right? Episode 33, Kill 2 root members in one move. Naruto looked at the two ninjas who had been knocked unconscious by himself, and couldn't help but laugh in his heart. These two guys, chakra is full of heads, and they want to prevent their fists, what a joke. If it weren't for the mercy of his subordinates, it is estimated that one punch would have opened the heads of these two guys. Striding into the room where the Book of Seals was kept, Naruto couldn't help but smile. In order to let him get the Book of Seals, these guys really used a bitter conscience. Even if Naruto had not practiced any ninjutsu, with his excellent eyesight and the knowledge he had heard from Shikamaru Sasuke and others, he could easily feel the pressure around him. This pressure is obviously not brought by those few dark parts. It is the seal in this room that originally existed, but has now been lifted. Naruto didn't pay much attention to it, the corners of his mouth hooked, his eyes showed excitement, and he grabbed the Book of Seals. Without the slightest hesitation, Naruto directly opened the Book of Seals and kept scanning it on. The art of multiple shadow doppelganger, A-grade ninjutsu, use the huge amount of chakra to increase the number of shadow avatars. People without a large amount of chakra will use this technique to hurt themselves and even endanger their lives. At the first glance, Naruto saw the multiple shadow avatar technique. However, Naruto didn't look at the method of cultivation at all, and quickly flipped backwards. Because the technique of multiple shadow avatars does not provoke the reaction of the system at all, this shows that the technique of multiple shadow avatars does not meet the standard of system fusion. Illusion Dark Line. Multiply Detonation Charms. 8 Doors Dunjia. Flying Thunder God Art. Spiral Pills, Ghoul Ceiling. Constantly flipping, Naruto saw ninjutsu that he could hear one by one. And the power of each one can be described in one word, that is, strong. If nothing else, as long as you master any of the ninjutsu written above, it is not a problem to walk sideways in the entire ninja world. But as Naruto kept flipping, his face became colder and colder, and his brows involuntarily wrinkled. Seal, 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 it's all a seal. Except for the multiple shadow doppelganger, the other ninjutsu are wrapped in a layer of fog, and except for the name, even the introduction is a fog. It was clear that this was the hands and feet of the third generation of Hokage, and the purpose was to prevent him from mastering more powerful ninjutsu. Damn it. Naruto's hand gripping the Book of Seals kept clenching, even leaving 5 deep handprints on the Book of Seals. Naruto even had the intention to tear the Book of Seals to pieces. But just when Naruto was about to turn the Book of Seals to the end, finally, he saw a few ninjutsu that were not wrapped in fog. Sealing Technique, Vitral Blockade. Sealing Technique, 5 Element Seals. Sealing Technique, Sealing Evil Law Seal. Sealing Technique, 3-Way Seal. Looking at these sealing techniques, Naruto took a deep breath, and his eyes lit up involuntarily. Because in Naruto's mind, a mechanical voice was constantly ringing. Pray to the host, discover fused ninjutsu, discover fused ninjutsu, discover fused ninjutsu. Listening to the mechanical voice in his head, Naruto almost wanted to laugh out loud, and the kung fu paid off, and finally let him find it. Except for the first contact with chakra alchemy 12 years ago, ninjutsu that can be fused by the system. At this moment, several shouts came from outside the door. Hurry up everyone, Naruto Uzumaki stole the Book of Seals. Naruto Uzumaki stole the Book of Seals, hurry up and catch him. Several shouting dark parts outside the door also looked helpless. Originally, the 3 generations of Hokage allowed Naruto to view the Book of Seals, but they didn't bother to do it, so they waited outside the door. But I couldn't stand those few root members. If they hadn't stopped them, they would have rushed in and arrested Naruto Uzumaki. Now seeing Naruto Uzumaki discover the sealing technique, he finally couldn't help it anymore and shouted, so that Naruto didn't have time to learn the sealing technique. Naruto in the room frowned, then stretched out, tied the sealed book scroll to his back, and kicked the door to smash, straight towards those dark parts. The corner of the female dark part's mouth twitched, and her eyelids jumped straight at Naruto Uzumaki. How arrogant this is. Did Naruto think they were sake sacks? They dared to storm their more than 40 blockade lines, composed of upper ninja. At this moment, even the members of the root were dumbfounded, looking at each other, not knowing how to be good. They had been observing Naruto all the time, and it was clear that Naruto Uzumaki had not even learned a single ninjutsu. If this caught Naruto Uzumaki, wouldn't the plans of the 3 generations of Hokage all be ruined? Seeing Naruto Uzumaki rushing to their eyes, the root members led by them sighed helplessly and quietly made a gesture. The root members around them immediately realized, pretending to rush towards Naruto Uzumaki, but at an extremely slow speed. The members of the Dark Division took 2 steps back without a trace, keeping a distance of 10 meters from Naruto. The 2 colleagues before were smashed by Naruto's punch, and now they are not awake, but they can clearly see it. They didn't want to get punched by Naruto. Naruto saw a few roots rushing towards him, a cold color flashed under his eyes, and he stretched out his hands and grabbed them. Humph. Naruto reached out and grabbed the 2 roots, snorted coldly, and took a few steps back. However, at this moment, the pupils of the 2 root members shrank sharply, watching in shock as Naruto grabbed their hands. It's so fast, there is an afterimage. A root member shouted out in silence. Even Matkai, who specializes in physical arts in Konoha village, with the understanding of these root members, may not be able to have such a fast speed. At the speed of thunder, Naruto grabbed the necks of the 2 root members in shocked eyes. Naruto then bent his hands and slammed the 2 root members into the middle. Pung! Several dark people around gasped. How energetic this is. That sound, they all felt their scalps tingle when they heard it. After doing all this, Naruto's figure was as fast as a rabbit, leaving only a yellow flashing figure, and it disappeared into this jungle in an instant as if teleporting. Episode 33 begins to fuse the sealing techniques of other worlds. Meanwhile, the office of the 3 generations of Hokage. Sarutobi Hinata, who smoked a smoking gun, Shimura Danzo, who had a gloomy face, and Konoha's staff officer who turned to sleep Koharu and Mizuto Menyen with a pensive look all looked at the crystal ball in front of Sarutobi Hinata. When he saw Naruto kill 2 roots in one move, Shimura Danzo couldn't bear it anymore, and slapped the table and roared, Sarutobi, Naruto Uzumaki has such great strength, do you know? Defeating his 2 subordinates in one move, Danzo felt that even if he let himself up, he might not be able to defeat the 2 upper shinobi so easily. Therefore, Danzo couldn't help but be furious when he saw Naruto with such power. He believes that this is all the inaction of Sarutobi Hinata, and it is the incorrect supervision of Sarutobi Hinata, which causes Naruto to have such strong strength. And Naruto Uzumaki has such a strong strength, but no one in the village knows what a terrible thing this is? With Danzo's idea, there is no doubt that Naruto Uzumaki is hiding his strength and wants to take revenge on Konoha. Sarutobi took a puff of his cigarette in silence. Even he didn't know that Naruto Uzumaki had such power. The shot is like a thunderbolt, and even an afterimage appears in the air. Even a ninja who specializes in physical arts may not be able to do it. But Sarutobi Hinata's heart was also puzzled, because according to his crystal ball, and the ninja in charge of monitoring Naruto's report, Naruto Uzumaki, he has never really practiced physical arts at all. Even if you do some exercise every day, it's just ordinary exercise. After thinking about it in his heart, the old face of the ape flying sun chopping couldn't help but twitch slightly. Because he could only think that Naruto's own physique was too strong, which was why he had such a powerful physical skill. So what is this, humanoid self-propelled monster? Tuanzong looked at the silent appearance of the ape flying sun, and he was angry and patted the table and said, continue to let Uzumaki Naruto move freely, I really don't worry, in a moment, I will send Uzumaki Naruto to our roots, I will impose a seal on him. Sarutobi shook his head in silence, looked at Naruto's shadow in the crystal ball, and said in a deep voice, I trust Naruto Uzumaki, he will not betray the village. Tuanzong was about to be mad, and slapped the table and cursed, Sarutobi, are you crazy? Naruto Uzumaki, who has such a powerful strength, is still hiding his strength, which is obviously an abnormal thing. However, Sarutobi was actually afraid that his power would become stronger, and refused to hand over Naruto Uzumaki to him. Koharu and Mizuto noticed the smell of gunpowder in the air, looked at each other, and smiled bitterly. Danzo and Sarutobi have been fighting since they were young. I didn't expect that after decades of time, they still didn't look at each other well. Under the persuasion of Koharu and Mido Menyen, Danzo sat down angrily, staring at Naruto like Sarutobi slashing them. He didn't believe that Naruto Uzumaki would have no second mind. If Naruto Uzumaki really chose to betray Konoha, even if he fought with Sarutobi Hinata, he would definitely have Naruto Uzumaki in his hands. And Naruto, who was shuttling through the jungle, suddenly heard the voice of the 9 tails in his head. Naruto, someone is watching you, be careful. The corners of Naruto's mouth hooked, and he nodded. I see, Naruto knew all too well about being watched. A few years ago, Naruto learned through the 9 tails in his body that someone was watching him. Naruto thought about it and immediately confirmed that it was the 3rd generation of Hokage. Now hearing the reminder of the 9 tails, the corner of Naruto's mouth hooked, and under a few flashes, he appeared at the place agreed with Mizuki. It's just that Naruto didn't go out, but sat in the shadow of the trees to avoid the prying eyes of the 3 generations of Hokage. Then, Naruto quickly took out the Book of Seals and turned it over to the part of the sealing. Sealing technique, Vitral blockade. Sealing technique, 5-element seals. Sealing technique, sealing evil law seal. Sealing technique, 3-way seal. Noon. After memorizing the 3 sealing methods, chakra's route, in his heart, Naruto closed his eyes and began to think in his heart. 3 A-grade sealing techniques, 1 S-class sealing technique. After all, sealing techniques all belong to the same type. Therefore, this fusion is not the same sealing ability. It's a pity that it can suppress the 9 tails, and even the strongest sealing technique of the Outer Path Golem, the King Kong blockade. Can't learn. Because of the King Kong blockade, it is not so much ninjutsu as the blood succession limit. Only the people of the Uzumaki family can awaken. It's like whirlpool Sinai, whirlpool fragrant phosphorus. And in Naruto's body, only half of the Uzumaki family bloodline. If he didn't want to purify it, he wouldn't want to master the King Kong blockade for the rest of his life. Naruto rubbed his temples and muttered, "It's a bit of a headache." King Kong blockade, once awakened, means that Naruto has a strength comparable to the shadow level. After all, you can suppress the chains of the 9 tails, not just talk. Even the 9 tails once praised the power of the King Kong blockade, and said that the King Kong blockade was the ninjutsu that could restrain him the most, besides Mudun and Sharingan. After thinking for a long time, Naruto shook his head slightly. It's too early to think about this, and the most urgent thing is to quickly fuse the sealing technique with the abilities of other worlds. System, using the 3 sealing techniques I have mastered as a template, fusing the same abilities in other worlds, start selecting. Naruto placed the book of seals behind his back, his consciousness sinking into his mind, and said in a deep voice to a large ball of light. Start selecting the equivalent ability of the heavens and realms for the host, please wait for a while. Episode 34, The Heavenly Lock of the Moon World. Naruto looked at the countless lights flashing in front of him, and his eyes couldn't help but rise with a shocked expression. This scene is really shocking. Countless fragments, countless worlds, flickering madly, just like thousands of worlds flowing in front of their eyes, dazzling those who see it. Naruto slowly reached out his palm, wanting to touch the fragments. Inuyasha World Demon Sealing Arrow. Demon Tail World Sealing Magic. Pirate World Book Fruit. Moon World Heaven's Lock. Forbidden World Air Power. Crimson Eyes World Ever-Changing, Crossover Tail. Naruto looked at the fragments of the world flowing from his hands, and couldn't help but show shock in his eyes. The first time he fused the chakra extraction technique, he didn't have so many options. There are just 3. Jackie-chan Adventures World Bull Charm. The Great Magic of the Demon Tail World. Pirate World Physique. In the spirit that mastering his own body is the best, Naruto decisively chose the physique of the pirate world. Other cow charms may be lost if you are not careful, and it is also very difficult to hide them. The magic of the Demon Tail World required a whole new power, and Naruto didn't want to spend time mastering it at the time. At this moment, the mechanical sound of the system sounded again. Pray to the host, the sealing type can be fused with ability, search the heavenly worlds, find a total of 12, only 7 are particularly suitable, please choose by yourself. Death World Bound Road S-Class, Grow. Inuyasha World Demon Sealing Arrow S-Class, Camp Grow. Demon Tail World Sealing Magic S-Class, Grow. Pirate World Book Fruit, Class A, Camp Grow. Type Moon World Heavenly Lock S-Grade, Non-Growthable, Initial A Level. Forbidden World Air Power, Class A, Grow. Crimson Pupil World Ever-Changing, Crossover Tail, Class A, Cannot Grow. Looking at the 3 abilities selected by the system, Naruto's eyes were full of surprise. The Binding Tao of the God of Death in the Grim Reaper world has this stronger ability than this world sealing technique, and because of the world, the power that can be exerted is stronger. The demon-breaking arrow shot by Kikyo of Inuyasha World has the ability to penetrate everything and restrain demons. The sealing technique of the fairy tale, such as the absolute defense magic fairy ball, can not only seal the space, but even the time. The book fruit of the pirate world can seal any organic matter, inorganic matter, into the book. The heavenly lock of the moon world, Naruto was most excited. This was an artifact, the chain that had captured the bull of heaven that had plunged Uruk into a 7-year famine, and it was a treasure that the hero King Gilgamesh and the good sword Ea were the same, still trusted treasures on it. Its ability is the law god thing, it is the object of capture, the higher the divinity, the more it increases the hardness, it can be said to be one of the few god armors. Although there are no gods in this world, Naruto is not disappointed, because the last time the system said that when they merge, the abilities of the 2 worlds will also merge. That is, the heavenly lock will fuse with the sealing technique. Become his brand new King Kong blockade. In other words, the heavenly lock can also be used in this world. And attacks on ordinary people can occur without the need for God. As for the last 2 worlds, arrow power makes and kaleidoscopic, cross-tail. Naruto didn't even think about it. If it was vector manipulation of the forbidden world, Naruto might choose it. However, the 2 abilities of air power and kaleidoscopic, crossover tail. Naruto hadn't even heard of it, and the level was only A grade, which really didn't have much potential. You must know that Naruto's own pirate world physique is an S-level ability, and it will continue to evolve with his own strength. The two abilities of arrow power and kaleidoscopic crossover tail, one is A-level growth, and the other is A-level non-growth, which is simply not comparable to the above ones. Thinking of this, Naruto couldn't help but feel a little tangled. The book fruit of the pirate world let him pass first, after all, it is A grade. Inuyasha's world-breaking arrow, Naruto thought about it and passed it away as well. After all, the devil-breaking arrow requires a bow and arrow, whether it is carrying a bow and arrow, or learning a bow and arrow, it is too troublesome. The sealing magic of the demon tail world has not been seen a few times in total. There are too many factors that cannot be determined, and they are also past. Hence the choice left to Naruto. There are only the binding path of the Grim Reaper world and the heavenly lock of the moon world. These two abilities, Naruto's heart is extremely entangled. On the one hand, the S-level ability that can grow is the Shinigami Dao. On the one hand, it cannot grow, but it corresponds to the heavenly lock blocked by Naruto Kongo. After thinking a few times, Naruto unintentionally set his eyes on the Book of Seals, and suddenly his eyes lit up. Dao, system, the sealing technique is the sealing technique, but the Vidra blockade belongs more to the blood succession limit. Can I fuse my sealing technique with the binding path of the pirate world's death god world, and the heavenly lock fuses with the Vidra blockade? The ability of the system is to fuse ninjutsu, and the sealing technique can be learned by anyone, but the Vidra blockade can only be awakened by the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan. It completely belongs to the blood succession limit. So a glimmer of hope appeared in Naruto's heart. The system was silent for a moment, and then said in a mechanical voice, yes. However, the binding path requires the host's sealing ability to become stronger before it can grow, and once the host chooses to fuse the heavenly lock will not be able to become a sealing technique. The system reminded again, but Naruto didn't care. Excitement rose in his eyes, and he clenched his palms tightly. The Vidra blockade cannot be counted as a sealing technique, and it cannot be fused into the death god binding Dao, although it is a pity. But Naruto didn't care, revealing an expression of ecstasy. The bound path of the Grim Reaper world. The heavenly lock of the moon world. In this way, as long as he learns the King Kong blockade, it is equivalent to getting two abilities, and his strength doubles and increases. Episode 35, The World of Death Binds. Naruto pinched several marks in his excited hands, and there seemed to be countless black lines on his hands. Sealing technique, sealing evil law seal. Naruto looked at the black lines that appeared in his hand, the corners of his mouth slightly curved, and his heart couldn't help but get excited. This seal, he had no trouble learning. It was as if it had been prepared for him by nature. Sure enough, it was the sealing technique of the Vortex clan. Naruto quickly sealed a few more seals, and the other two seals, although weak, can also be learned. Seeing this, Naruto quickly put his consciousness into his mind and said excitedly to the system, System, I have already learned all three ninjutsu and fused the world of death for me. The growth type of the fused ninjutsu requires Naruto to continuously improve the ninjutsu he fused in order to make his fused ability stronger. Now that he has learned these three ninjutsu, Naruto can't wait to see how many of his fused Shinigami binding Dao are. In an instant, 3 rays of light were put into the system in Naruto's mind, and after countless rays of light flickered, countless esoteric knowledge appeared in Naruto's mind. The mastery of power, the speed of chanting, the distribution of power, etc. When the light disappeared, Naruto's mind already had countless knowledge that he had never mastered, but it was as if he was born with it, allowing Naruto to control it freely. The system's prompt sounds. Pray to the host has mastered the 3 sealing techniques, and the fusion of the death god world binding Dao, within 40 numbers. The power is interconnected and fused, and the host can use chakra to cast a binding path, and the power remains unchanged. The fusion of the binding Dao is complete. Please continue to learn the sealing technique, so that the death god binding Dao will continue to become stronger. Listening to the system's prompt, Naruto shook his palm in surprise. The death god world binding Dao itself is an extremely strong ability. I actually increased myself by 40 at once. It's so beautiful. The binding path within the 40 is probably not weaker than the A-level heavenly lock, and it can continue to become stronger. I am afraid that the heavenly lock cannot compare. Then Naruto shook his head, he couldn't think so. In addition to the ability to seal, the heavenly lock was stronger than the ability to attack. The two are indistinguishable from the existence of the upper and lower. At this moment, Naruto's ears moved, and he heard a voice approaching rapidly. With a slight glance, it was Mizuki with an anxious face. Naruto just glanced at him and withdrew his gaze. To him, Mizuki was just an insignificant character. Even without the Book of Seals, Naruto couldn't use 2 tricks if he wanted to solve him. Continuing to flip through the Book of Seals, Naruto found that the seal on the Book of Seals could not be untied using the binding Dao. If you come strongly, I am afraid that it will destroy the Book of Seals. That would be worth the loss. After all, Naruto can't learn now, but after the death of the third generation of Hokage, the old man will have no way to restrain him. After some silence, Naruto turned the Book of Seals to the first page. The art of multiple shadow avatars. Although Naruto did not fancy this ninjutsu. But in the end, it is also a fairly powerful ninjutsu, and there is a chance not to learn it for nothing. The multiple shadow doppelganger technique is very simple, with only one seal. After Naruto finished studying, he lazily leaned under the tree, smiling as if intentionally or unintentionally. After Naruto fused the Shinigami bondage, Naruto's 5 senses became a lot sharper. At this time, Naruto could clearly feel the footsteps in the surrounding jungle, and the voyeurism behind him. There was no doubt that this forest had already been laid with a net. As long as he chooses to betray Konoha next, he will immediately be attacked like a storm. Thinking of this, the corners of Naruto's mouth hooked, showing an excited smile, and muttered, "Who would choose to betray Konoha at this time, idiot?" And just when Naruto didn't care, Mizuki, who was not far from Naruto, was about to go crazy. He obviously heard that Naruto had snatched the Book of Seals and came to this jungle, but no matter how he shouted, he couldn't even see Naruto's shadow. After more than 10 minutes, his voice was almost hoarse, and he was even more angry. "Naruto Uzumaki, if you give it to me, don't you want to know your true identity? Don't you want to know why so many people in the village target you and bully you? You give me out, I will tell you when you come out." Standing in the middle of the jungle, Mizuki looked at the surrounding trees and roared loudly. He no longer cared that the voice would attract others. If he couldn't get the Book of Seals today, his plan would be revealed, and the 3 generations of Hokage would definitely kill him. For this reason, he even did not hesitate to tell Naruto his true identity. If Naruto stormed away, it would be even better, to buy him time. Listening to Mizuki's voice, Naruto pouted. When this idiot was talking, he was not killed, which really counted his life. "You must know that a few hours ago, the 9-tailed chakra had just erupted, and saying this was not equivalent to provoking the fragile nerves of the 3 generations of Hokage. And at this time, in the Hokage office, the faces of Ape Flying Sun Chopper and Tuanzong were gloomy, as if they could drip water. Mizuki." Sarutobi slapped the table angrily, looked at Mizuki in the crystal ball, and couldn't wait to reach in and strangle him. Obviously knowing that Naruto Uzumaki had just erupted from the 9-tailed chakra, and his emotions might not be able to calm down now, he chose to tell Naruto this kind of thing at this time. "Do you really want to make the 9-tails rebellion more than 10 years ago reappear again?" Tuanzong had a gloomy face for a long time, then called over a dark part and said in a deep voice, "You go and watch Naruto Uzumaki. Once there is an abnormality, seal it directly." "Yes." The masked dark part half knelt on the ground, said respectfully, and quickly disappeared in place. After seeing it, Sarutobi took a puff of his bong, but did not stop it. Even if Naruto breaks out with a 9-tailed chakra, it is impossible to burst out more than 4 tails in an instant, and with Yamato's wooden dun, it is enough to suppress Naruto. Episode 37 gives you a feel for the power of bondage. Just as Mizuki was yelling outside, Naruto glanced out in surprise. "Iruka." I saw that in the distance. Iruka's figure kept jumping on the trees and rushed to Mizuki at an extremely fast speed. With anger in his eyes, he asked loudly, "What do you want Mizuki to do?" Naruto Uzumaki has the 9-tailed demon fox, 9 llamas sealed in his body, which is a fact that all ninjas in Konoha village know. But because of this, they knew that they couldn't let Naruto's mood fluctuate too much. Otherwise, once Naruto fell into extreme anger, the 9-tailed demon fox in his body would break free of the seal again. At that time, there will be no second wave of feng shui gates sealed with life. And the humiliation that Naruto Uzumaki experienced since he was a child, Iruka naturally knew better. If Naruto knew that he had the 9 tails in his body, he might resent the one he had never met, and sealed the 9-tailed demon fox to the wave feng shui gate from his body. At that time, Naruto's mood swings. It is very likely that the 9 tails will take advantage of the void, Mizuki said with a mocking smile. "Iruka, wasn't your loved one killed by Naruto Uzumaki? Is it to stop me at this time to reflect your sense of justice?" For Iruka, who usually has a serious face, Mizuki has long been unable to see it, and at this moment, he is even more sneering. When Iruka heard his relatives, he immediately clenched his palms angrily and said loudly, "The person who killed my parents was the 9-tailed demon fox, not Naruto." Mizuki sneered and said, "It's all the same, tell you, don't stop me, or I'll kill you here." For Iruka, Mizuki didn't look at it at all, he was just a weakling, not his opponent at all. Turning his head, Mizuki shouted loudly, "Naruto Uzumaki, I'll tell you, the reason why you will be targeted and bullied in the village is because there is a 9-tailed demon fox sealed in your body, which is the monster that was sealed into your body by the 4th generation of Hokage and once destroyed Konoha, you know?" "Mizuki." Iruka roared angrily, ran forward a few steps, and a kunai appeared in his hand, stabbing at Mizuki. Seeing this, Mizuki just sneered. His strength has not weakened in all these years, and just because Iruka still wants to subdue him, he simply does not know whether he is dead or alive. At that moment, Mizuki showed a mocking smile and quickly rushed forward with Kuwu. A sound like the collision of swords sounded, and the extremely fast speed was enough to make people sweat coldly. However, Naruto didn't care much, but put the Book of Seals away, on his back with his own care. The fight between the two was so weak that Naruto didn't even bother to care, because it was really boring. Looking at Iruka in front of him, after glancing at the forest that was motionless, Mizuki clenched his hand angrily. He planted it today, but he didn't expect that Naruto Uzumaki actually tricked him. Even Iruka is in danger and refuses to come out, damn it. After glancing around, Mizuki said coldly, "Naruto Uzumaki, if you don't come out again, I'll kill Iruka." Naruto pouted slightly when he heard this. It's really good at talking. Iruka can be sent by 3 generations of Hokage to teach them to learn, which in itself shows that the strength is not very weak. Mizuki, a Naka ninja, actually threatened to kill Iruka. It's not too funny. Iruka made a backhand, and a huge shuriken appeared in his hand, staring at Mizuki angrily and saying, "Stop seducing Naruto, or I won't let you go." Mizuki glanced at Iruka with disdain and said, "Just you?" As he spoke, Mizuki held his shuriken and swung it quickly towards Iruka. Mizuki's attack was extremely vicious, and his moves were pointed to the point, which really made Iruka, who had not experienced much battle, a little at a loss. But after all, Iruka has a stronger strength than Mizuki, and the fight is not divided into top and bottom, and it is equally divided. Naruto rubbed his temples helplessly. Trouble, too troublesome. He is still waiting for Iruka to be in danger, to come to a wave of heroes to save people. But look at it like this, don't talk about saving people, fight for a while, and when Iruka gets used to it, he can turn Mizuki over. Forget it, expose your strength, expose it, anyway, I don't plan to hide. After shaking his head helplessly, Naruto raised a smile on his face and turned to walk out of the shadow of the trees. Calmly watching the battle between Mizuki and Iruka. Naruto. Iruka's pupils shrank, and after seeing Naruto's first glance, he was confused. For fear that Naruto would not be able to stand that stimulus, causing the 9 tails to invade his body. Mizuki's eyes lit up and he laughed loudly, "Iruka, I won." Mizuki's face showed ecstasy, and the kunai stabbed on Iruka's kunai in his hand, knocking Iruka back 2 steps. Then, with a look of ecstasy on his face, Mizuki rushed towards Naruto. Iruka looked confused and shouted in panic, "Naruto, run quickly." Mizuki showed a mocking look and wanted to run in front of him. He laughed loudly in disdain, "Fox demon boy, give me the Book of Seals, go and take revenge on Konoha, and kill everyone who bullies you in this village." Naruto stood in place, helplessly looking at Mizuki rushing towards him. Who gave this idiot courage? Was the head kicked by the door? They didn't understand his strength and wanted to use him. He also chose to snatch the Book of Seals in front of the public. This brain hole, Naruto didn't know what to say. Then a smile appeared at the corner of Naruto's mouth, pointed his palm at Mizuki, and said softly, "It doesn't matter, just let you feel it, the power of the Tao." Episode 38, The Mighty Grim Reaper Bound Tao, seeing Naruto standing in place and extending his hand to him. A hint of mockery appeared on Mizuki's face, and he sneered and said, "What an idiot, brainwashed by those people from Konoha. It's ridiculous that I still want to do it. A little devil who doesn't know any ninjutsu, repeatedly skips class, and is just a little more physically fit. Actually choosing to make a move on him, a person who had experienced the killing on the battlefield, simply made him laugh out of his big teeth." Mizuki's eyes flashed coldly, and a kunai appeared in his hand, stabbing towards Naruto fiercely. "Then you will give me death." Watching Mizuki roar and stab Naruto's neck, the roots and dark parts of the surrounding jungle instantly tensed. Countless eyes stared dead at Naruto. And under the gaze of dozens of people, Naruto raised a smile on his face, chakra converged on the tips of his fingers, and said in a voice full of mystery, "Self-destruct, Rondinini's black dog, burn it out completely, and cut your throat." A hint of doubt appeared in Mizuki's eyes, and then mocked, "Do you want to beg for mercy?" "There's no time for that." Naruto's eyes were calm, and chakra ran down the tip of his palm, and a red light instantly burst out. Binding down number 9, strike. The red light flashed along the sky, as if it was extremely smooth, and instantly wrapped around Mizuki's body. Entangled in red light, Mizuki seemed to be tied by 5 flowers, and after a few painful struggles, he fell from the sky to the ground in disbelief. Pung! Mizuki's body fell to the ground, making a heavy crashing sound. No matter how desperately he struggled on the ground, it still had no effect. The 4 people of the Ape Flying Sun Slashing group in the Hokage's office were already dumbfounded, looking at the scene in the crystal ball in disbelief. Although they had imagined that Mizuki was no match for Naruto, it was difficult to imagine this strange attack. What is this ability? Tuanzan looked at the crystal ball, turned his head to look at the Ape Flying Sun, and asked in a dry voice. Does ordinary ceiling have this ability? Ape Fei Ri shook his head stiffly, he was also confused. Obviously, he only unlocked 4 sealing techniques for Naruto, one of which also included the Uzumaki family's blood succession limit. But what is it? Without a seal, he simply stretched out his palm, and as a result, a red light shot out from his palm, defeating Mizuki. It's not so strong to open and hang, right? Tuanzong took a deep breath and said with a solemn look on his face, "It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous." The power that Naruto Uzumaki displayed out of thin air gave Danzo a feeling that he could not grasp it. I don't know why, looking at Naruto, a sense of crisis appeared in Danzo's heart. Danzo believed his instincts, and said coldly at the moment, "Ape Flying Sun, don't you think you have to give me an explanation for this matter? What exactly is Naruto Uzumaki's ability? Did you teach him? If not, don't blame me for doing it." Koharu and Mizuto Menyen also set their sights on Sarutobi Hinata. Under the gaze of the three, Ape Fei took a bitter puff of his bong. Where did he teach Naruto? Even if it was sealing, he only handed it over to Naruto today. Moreover, as a doctor of the ninja world, he had never seen such a weird ninjutsu. As an old opponent who was also friend and foe, Tuanzong saw the idea of Ape Flying at a glance, and couldn't help but gasp. Naruto, it's too deep to hide. Thinking of this, Tuanzong quickly stretched out his hand to summon a root member and said coldly, "Order, let the ninjas who ambush around, quickly send Naruto Uzumaki's uniform here." The power that Naruto Uzumaki inexplicably mastered made him a little flustered, so he didn't care about the danger of the nine tails erupting, and he also wanted to arrest Naruto. However, as soon as the words fell, Tuanzong looked at the crystal ball, and his pupils shrank sharply. The three of Ape Flying Sun and Koharu and Mizuto Menyen were also a little stunned. I saw Naruto Uzumaki punched Mizuki's stomach, and after knocking him faint, he looked at the jungle with both eyes and said coldly, "What kind of person dares to ambush me and get out of here for me?" Danzo's eyes widened and he pointed at Naruto in the crystal ball in shock. He actually found. A teenager who had just graduated unexpectedly discovered dozens of shangnin hidden. If it wasn't for what Tuanzong saw with his own eyes, he wouldn't have been able to believe it. And after hearing Naruto's words, the dark members in the jungle looked at each other, not knowing if they were going out. And when they hesitated, the root members were like big black birds, already rushing towards Naruto. The order given to them by Danzo-sama is that if Naruto Uzumaki has any abnormalities, he will immediately arrest him. And Naruto Uzumaki at this time can already be regarded as a strange. After seeing the female dark department, her face appeared anxious, and she quickly rushed to the members of the follower, opened her hands and said anxiously, "You guys calm down, maybe Naruto just now." As the female dark part spoke, Naruto hooked the corner of his mouth and aimed his hand at her. One of the ways of binding stuff. Episode 39, The Way of Ghosts That Resist All. The female dark part with her back to Naruto screamed, her hands were strangely behind her back, and she fell to her knees with a plop. Naruto couldn't help but prick his tongue after seeing it, and couldn't help but mumble, "That's really a bad pose." The female dark part turned her head in shame and indignation, and scolded, "Whose fault do you think this is?" Obviously, she saw that Naruto was in danger and specially came to save him, but she was actually put down by Naruto's move. Not to mention the strength, this anger alone made the female dark part want to bite Naruto to death. Naruto shook his head, stepped forward, and muttered, "Well, it doesn't matter, let me see who you really are." For this female dark part who has been monitoring himself for 5 years, has a good figure and a good personality, Naruto still has a good impression in his heart. Oh, at this moment, several black shadows flickered, and 6 or 7 members of the root appeared around Naruto, looking at Naruto with cold eyes without a trace of emotion. The leader of the root members stepped forward and said coldly, "Naruto Uzumaki, we feel that you are very suspected of betraying the village, come with us." Naruto stopped, smiled playfully, and said, "What are you guys? Did that old man from Hokage send you over?" Looking at the crystal ball, the Ape Flying Sun's face turned dark, as if Naruto Uzumaki had not said his name respectfully. Danzo on the side snickered. Naruto Uzumaki did not have awe of Sarutobi Hinata, which was a good thing, indicating that he had a better grasp of Naruto Uzumaki. The leader of the root member said coldly, "We are under the command of Master Tuanzang, and Master Tuanzang asked you to come with me." Naruto shook his head and said with disdain, "As far as I know, the only one who can take people away unconditionally in the village is Hokage. What is Danzo?" "Don't go." Danzo, who was snickering, suddenly turned gloomy, staring angrily at Naruto Uzumaki. "Damn bastard. Tuanzo has always considered himself the highest-ranking person in the village, besides Sarutobi Rickhop." Now hearing Naruto's words, he couldn't get angry and looked at Naruto coldly. "Make up your mind that after Naruto is caught to the root, he will teach him a good lesson, otherwise Naruto will not know what awe is." And after hearing Naruto's words, there was no anger in the eyes of those root members. Under the training of the roots, they didn't even have feelings, saying that they were people, rather than machines that could carry out orders. At that moment, several people glanced at each other, stepped forward and quickly pinched the handprint in their hands, and opened their mouths to shout, "Water rush!" A raging stream of water rushed out of the mouths of several root members, like 5 violent streams, and rushed towards Naruto violently. After the surrounding dark members saw it, they breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts and did not stop it. Water-done ninjutsu is the most common ninjutsu. The attack power is not as strong as fire, it tends to be peaceful. Even if it is hit head-on, people will only be injured, and few people will be killed by water-done. It was best used to control Naruto's movements. They didn't want to go head-to-head with Naruto. That monster-like strength, I am afraid that if you get a punch, you will be seriously injured even if you don't die. Seeing this, Naruto's mouth drew a subtle curve. The water flow is so close to him that it is too late to chant, so he simply looks at the power of chanting. As soon as he stretched out his hand, he stopped the female dark part behind him, and in the face of the water in all directions, Naruto stretched out his palm, and the powerful chakra ran in his hand. Bound Road number 39 Round Gate Fan. Naruto's palm drew a semicircle in the sky. In an instant, a round, blue glow defense appeared in the sky. The furious water rushed from all directions, but Naruto only stood behind this defense, seemingly unworried. Boom! The violent impact of the water made a deafening crash on it, and the eyes widened in the female dark part behind Naruto. I saw that the current, hitting the light in front of Naruto, was evacuated as if it had touched the stone wall of the dam. The female dark part had an incredible look flashing in her eyes, and muttered, "A tougher defense than Tuduan. No, even Tuduan may not be able to block it." 7 or 8 Shainin used the water escape, and the amount of gathering of sea currents was completely out of ordinary rivers. In the face of such a turbulent impact, being able to survive unharmed, this defense is simply shocking. Several people in the office of the 3rd generation of Hokage had already fallen silent, and the shock Naruto brought them was too strong. Not only the previous sealing technique, but also the current defense surprised them. The 3 generations of Hokage had a gloomy face, and Tuanzong had a gloomy face, did not speak, and quietly looked at the crystal ball in front of him. He didn't believe that Naruto Uzumaki could be safe and sound under the combined attack of dozens of Shainin. Seeing this scene, several root members looked at each other calmly, quickly pinched out other seals in their hands, and shouted, "The art of fire and Miss Betten." With a bang, another flame spat out from the hands of the 7 or 8 roots, burning towards Naruto. Shui Dun was blocked by that defense, and they didn't believe that Naruto could block it, which was more violent than Shui Duan. Seeing this, Naruto raised a smile on his face. He already knew that without the singing shackles, the power would be reduced by about 30%, but the chakra required was the same. Compared to reducing the power by 30%, Naruto prefers attacks that are 3 or 5 seconds earlier and can achieve a smooth-haired effect. After all, the chakra in his body is extremely large, and even if the chakra in Naruto's body is not enough, the chakra of the 9 tails is enough to support him. Thinking of this, Naruto looked at the flames that rushed to his face, and his body boiled with the 9-tailed chakra, like a burning orange flame. At the shocked gaze of the female dark part, Naruto carried her on his shoulder. The hand was aimed at the flames that rushed towards him. 21 Red Smoke Escape. Boom. A thick plume of smoke spread out from Naruto's hand, like a fog, covering nearly half of the forest. In a short moment, this originally empty place reached out and 5 fingers were missing. The members of the Root and the Dark Division, looking in panic, their backs clinging together, wary of Naruto's sneak attack. Episode 40, is like a ghostly figure. Naruto bent his legs the moment the flames came, quickly leaving the area. Naruto wasn't even interested in glancing at the explosion of flames coming from behind him. As the saying goes, real men never look back at the explosion. Naruto didn't look back, but it didn't mean that the female dark part didn't look back, but I saw her eyes widened and her mouth was slightly open, and she had an expression that was shocked to the extreme. Finally, he calmed down, realized that his chest was against Naruto's back, and couldn't help but pat Naruto's shoulder in shame, and said loudly, "Stinky Naruto, you hurry up and put me down, or no one can save you." Naruto had just attacked the people in the darkened roots. Once the 3 generations of Hokage and Danzo are unhappy, even if Naruto is a human pillar force, he will be punished a lot. Naruto pouted, placed the female dark part on the ground, and said with a smile on her face, "You said you are the dark part, where is the dark part as weak as you?" The female dark part almost died of anger and looked at Naruto angrily. How could they have thought that Naruto would have such great strength, and it was so weird. When she was even more in order to save Naruto, she was accidentally killed by Naruto's move, and this kid still had a face to say. Fortunately, Naruto did not expect the female dark part to reply, and reached out and grabbed the mask on the female massager's face with a smile. The female dark part looked startled, and looked at Naruto angrily and said, "What do you want to do, stinky boy? We are not allowed to show our true appearance in the dark parts, and if you dare to take off my mask, I can't spare you." Naruto just pouted. Can't spare him? What kind of joke, with your strength, giving him 100 years, may not be able to catch up with Naruto. What's more, Naruto also wanted to see who this woman who had been monitoring him for several years was. With such a strong skill, I am afraid that she is not a lonely person. Naruto took off her mask in the embarrassed gaze of the female dark part. In the eyes is a long purple hair, handsome face, beautiful and dignified, but with shame in his eyes. Was defeated by a boy 10 years younger than himself, and he was also bound and couldn't move, which simply made Yu Shiyan want to find a seam to drill into. Yu Shiyan? Naruto looked at the woman in amazement. He knew who this woman was. A member of the dark department of Konoha Hidden Village in the Land of Fire, he is good at Konoha flow swordsmanship, and is also a special shinobi of Konoha Village, and in the original world, he should be the lover of Moonlight Wind. I didn't expect that the female dark department who had been monitoring her for several years turned out to be this one. You know me? Yuzuki's blushing face calmed down and looked at Naruto in surprise. After becoming a dark part, she has rarely been active in the village. How could Naruto Uzumaki know her name? Naruto raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, I still know a few of the most beautiful people in Konoha Village. Yu Shiyan gritted her teeth secretly. Which bastard sorted out the ranking of beautiful women in Konoha Village without authorization, looking for death? By the way, do you have a boyfriend? Naruto asked with a smile. Yuzuki Shiyan was stunned, looked at Naruto Uzumaki with a black face, and asked, No, you kids still want to chase me? He monitored Naruto Uzumaki for several years, and every day he could see Naruto Uzumaki's naked body, so he was still in the mood to find some boyfriend. Naruto showed a hint of a smile, stood up and smiled. Well, I'll talk about it later. I'll go and solve those guys first. You stay here and don't move. After the words fell, Naruto pointed his palm at Yu Yuyen and said, 26th Chuguang of the Bound Way. Suddenly, countless rays of light flickered and covered Yu Shiyan's body. After doing all this, Naruto's mouth hooked a sneer, and under the cover of smoke, rushed towards those root members. Then Yu Shiyan was surprised to find out. He stood in place, but the dark members and root members who chased after him just walked by their side as if they didn't see themselves. What is this ability? Yu Shiyan looked at the light in front of her in amazement, stretched out her hand to touch it, but could not touch anything. At this moment, a loud noise attracted everyone's attention. When Mercedes got there, everyone's pupils shrank sharply, and they looked in shock at a root member who had been punched to the ground and spat blood in his mouth. The previous leader of the root members crouched down and asked anxiously, What happened? Is it Naruto Uzumaki? The root member, who was constantly spitting blood in his mouth, stretched out his hand in pain, pointed to the position behind the leader of the heel clan and said, Just there. What? The leader of the root member's pupils shrank sharply, and without the slightest hesitation, rolled to the side on the spot. In the next second, a bitter stick pierced the ground where he was before. The leader of the root members wiped a handful of cold sweat from his head and looked at Naruto Uzumaki, who was not far away, standing on a tree, and looking at him with a smile on his face. It's actually a means on the battlefield, it's really dangerous. The leader of the root members said in disbelief. Severely wound people wait for their companions to come to support, and kill them with various weapons. This kind of method, which can clearly appear on the battlefield of constant fighting, is now mastered by Naruto, which is simply shocking and unbelievable. Naruto glanced regretfully at Kumu on the ground and muttered, It's a pity, I haven't practiced, and the accuracy is really not enough. When the leader of the root members heard this, he clenched his palms without a trace. If he hadn't had enough combat experience, this move just now would definitely penetrate his body. You must know that he is a good forbearance. Faced with such a strong record, Naruto felt regret. The leader of the root members swallowed a mouthful of spit and quickly sealed the seal in his hand. Tudu and Tushur Dragon. The ground tumbled rapidly, and countless pieces of soil formed a dragon with distinct scales, which roared and rushed towards Naruto. However, when the earth dragon rushed over, Naruto's figure disappeared like a ghost,